Hello every pony and welcome to Brony FanFics, Crisis in Equestria. Today, Chapter 8, and I'm rather excited to read this one because last time we got to see the unveiling, I suppose, of the counterparts, the elements of Discord, and I'm quite excited to see how this will all play out really, so let's get started. Chapter 8, Impasse. A slightly heavy-set, rose-coloured earth pony more dabbled a cotton ball into a little bottle of alcohol and dabbled away at the chest of a certain red earth pony stallion, who clearly had seen better days. Bits of his coat were singed, as well as his mane and tail, and he had been bleeding, though luckily that had stopped. From many cuts on his face and chest, particularly a nasty one near where his badge normally rested. He blew a bit of her golden mane. He blew a bit of her golden mane out of her face as she attempted to dab away at the worst of the worst cuts. But his fidgeting was not making things easy. Ow! 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 Cripes, Ma! Cripes, Ma! Could you take it easy? Shortcake huffed and flicked her son's ear. He winced. Now is that any way to talk to your mother, Oh, you boys are all alike. You come home crying and whining about this and that, and something or other. Oh, Ma, I got hurt at work today. Can you kiss it and make it feel better? And you just expect me to do everything, see? See? Things like this are why your father and I don't want you getting into the police business in the first place. Come on, Ma, this was pretty uncommon. Don't interrupt! She flicked his ear again. When I'm through with you, I'm going to have so many words with that little unicorn in there. And I tell you now, Flatter, if your mama is going to be using some words that she don't want you ever taking out of this household, you hear? She huffed again, angrily taking some deep breaths. She was more than a little agitated. Dragging my boy into danger like he's some kind of danger facer. The nerve. Why, if little Lockwood weren't so keen on treating her nice, Now, Ma, she didn't drag me nowhere, Flatter sighed. I'm the one who took her to Snapshot's place. She had nothing... Shortcake's expression soured. Oh, please don't mention that poor girl, Flathoof. That poor dear, she sniffed gingerly, wiping the tissue she had in her hoof to her eyes. Such a sweet child. Your sister was so fond of her. And your father, too. I was so certain she'd be part of the family sooner or later. Fleur frowned. Yeah, Ma, me too. I ain't, interrupting nothing, am I? Flathoof nearly jumped out of his seat completely, taken by surprise as Applejack made her presence in the doorway known. He took a moment, then turned pink in the cheeks as he realised he was not only out of uniform, but wearing any clothes at all. Oh, jeez, Ma, would it kill you to close the door, huh? Shortcake flicked her son's ear again. He winced. Hush now, boy. We are in a private residence. That full dress code or whatever don't have keep here. And mind your manners, talking to your mother like that in front of company. What would your father say? Ma, I'm naked here, and there is a lady standing in my room. Shortcake chuckled. And about time, too, if I do say so. Oh, that's good. Ma! Applejack suddenly turned a very bright red, taking on the same level of embarrassment he was feeling. It felt odd to be embarrassed about something like that. When back at home, no pony typically wore much of anything except a few accessories here and there. If anything at all. She'd even brought that up to rarity before the Grand Galloping Gala, what felt like ages ago. In this world, though, they seemed to have some sort of taboo against being naked, though they considered proper attire something hazy at best. The MPPD uniform only covered the pony's torso. After all, it was strange, to say the least, And it made her sort of rethink what it meant to be comfortable back home without any clothes at all either. Why was this world so different? Shortcake turned to the doorway. Don't mind him. He's a bit stick in the mud sometimes when it comes to those kind of things. You were Applejack, yes? That's right, ma'am. Applejack nodded. I was just checking in, seeing that everything was okay. Shortcake smiled. Well, I think I'm done fixing up the big lunk up for now. I'm going to hit the hay myself pretty soon. It's been a long night. That is, after I go have another little chat with that little unicorn. Oh, I'm so... She picked up her things and swept on past Applejack, patting her on the head as she left. Keep an eye on the boy for me, I'm getting the feeling... I get the feeling I can trust you to do that, she whispered. Applejack nodded subtly in response. Applejack entered the room more properly now, and trotted over to Flathoof's side. He was busying himself getting a clean shirt on, though he did so with some difficulty. His shoulder was wrapped in gauze, and he was clearly having some trouble moving it. Do you need any help? Flatto fumbled with himself, trying to get his forelock through a sleeve. No, I'm perfectly fine. He managed to get through it and slid the shirt with the rest of the way on it. It was just a simple white shirt, meant for relaxing around the house and not worrying about one's appearance. Everything okay out there? How's TikTok? She smirked. Well, she's got enough energy to argue with Twilight about this and that, and the other, so I reckon she'll be alright. She'll be right as rain soon enough. I tell you, Twilight's magic impresses me more and more every time I see it. It's because you have to do like... He's done sort of... Like, he's abbreviated words, like Eri instead of every. It's kind of hard to say. She fixed that girl's leg up real quick. With some help from Fluttershy, of course. How about you, though? Are y'all going to be okay? Do you need anything? I'll manage, he said quickly. I've had worse. I think all in a day's work for one of New Pandemonium's finest. He frowned at that. Mentioning the department at all reminded him again that Snapshot was gone. He was rather glad he wasn't going to be wearing the uniform for a while, or rather, what was left of it. An awkward silence wafted about them for a moment. Applejack coughed. I'm sorry to hear about your friend. He could only nod in response. I feel like a terrible pony, Applejack. Come on now, sugar. It ain't your fault she's gone. That crazy Pegasus is the one to blame here, not you. She tried to smile, but found even that hard to do. Flatto shook his head. That's not what I meant. I meant about everything. Losing her. It feels like I betrayed her. He sighed. If I'd just been honest with her from the start, with myself, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I don't know. The fucking phone's going. Hang on. Come on. Right, there we go. Applejack stood still for a moment, then nodded in solemn understanding. She was more to y'all than just a friend, wasn't she? He shook his head again. No, well, not officially. Something tells me she wanted to be, and I suppose I felt something there as well. But that might just be the grief talking. And I always told myself I'd find out one day, but I kept telling myself the time wasn't right, that there'd always be another day. I'm such a coward, he said. Why do I feel so empty? That's what it feels like, to lose someone in your heart. I know that feeling, sugar. I know how hard it is to get the news, to deal with the loss, she said softly. She looked away, trying to keep herself from unfond memories. The feeling that you couldn't stop. that you never had a chance to say goodbye. Applejack stood silent for a moment, then put a hoof on his unbandaged shoulder. Even y'all need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you. You hear? He nodded and leaned into her slightly. Thank you, Applejack. I really do appreciate it. There was another awkward silence between them. Applejack shifted and tried to clear the air. Come on, let's go see if old TikTok is getting along better now, Get your mind off all these things. The last thing y'all need is to beat yourself up over it. She wouldn't like to see you all in a rut. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, Flathoofs nodded. Though, I suppose after dealing with my mother, I doubt she's going to be very stable, he added with a chuckle. The pair headed into the hall and were welcomed by a young colt that delivered a big hug to Flathoof. Big bro, you're okay! Ma was saying you got hurt, and Flathoof scowled at the little pony. Shorthoof, what in the wild world of Equestria are you doing up at this ungodly hour? You're at school in the morning. What were you doing? Hiding outside in the hall? Does Ma know you're still up? The small butter-coloured pony frowned and gave an audible sniff. I just wanted to see if you're okay, big bro. Flathoof sighed and leaned down and gave the little one a hug. Don't worry about it, my little guy. Don't worry about me, little guy. Your big bro is invincible. Got that? Ain't nothing gonna put me in my place just yet. He ruffled the colt's cherry red mane. Now, you get off to bed, okay? I don't want to hear nothing about you doing poorly in school because you were up all night. Okay, big bro, I will. Shorthoof nodded. He then noticed that Applejack was looking down at him with a warm smile, and realised that he had been completely ignoring her. Oh, sorry, miss. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's all right, Sugar Cube. Applejack beamed. I've got a little sis just like y'all, back at home. I reckon she'd be just as worried about me if she were in your horseshoes. You've got a weird accent, miss. Shorthoof, Flathoof balked, making Shorthoof flinch. You apologise to Miss Applejack, right? It's okay. You didn't mean none by it, Applejack chuckled. I reckon I do sound awful strange round these parts anyhow. Heck, even back home there ain't many ponies sound much like the Apple Clan. The colt gave an excited nod. Well, it's been nice talking to you, but my big bro will scold me some more if I don't get to bed. Night, big bro. Night, Miss Applejack. Good night, little guy. Flathoof smirked as he shooed him away. He chuckled as the colt rounded the corner back towards his own room. I think he liked you. Shorthoof's not exactly the most sociable in our family. I deal with the public a lot. My ma and little sister just love to gossip, and Pa is a foreman in the foundry. Always has to deal with the union. With union this, the buyers that. Thickhoof, well, he's at home all the time now, and Ma and Patty Cake are starting to rub off on him, I think. Little Shorthoof, he tends to stick to himself mostly. Does a lot of reading. Doesn't look like he wants to take after the family line. Doesn't have many friends either. But he actually talked to you all on his own, even having just met you. I think it took him a week to even talk to Lockwood without us telling him to. Applejack hummed. He's a cute little guy. Come on, let's go see how TikTok's doing. Ah, right. Almost forgot. Flathoof nodded. I don't hear Mother, so maybe she's all done. The pair headed down the hall and towards the den where, despite her injuries, TikTok insisted she stay. Flathoof's mother had certainly agreed that was acceptable, and probably would have insisted she did so anyway. Every pony could tell Miss Shortcake was not at all pleased with TikTok's personal issues. That TikTok's personal issues nearly got her eldest son killed, and likely would have preferred she were out of the house entirely, if not for her insistence of the others. Certainly, though, she would not get the comfort of a soft bed, just a couch. The fact that they'd even had a den was somewhat surprising to Applejack and the others, Considering the living space they'd been given, houses were much less common in the mid-district compared to the outer, and usually cost loads more. Again, it seemed that befriending Lockwood had been the greatest fortune to ever bestow the Flathurst family. Even Applejack was at this point expecting the Pegasus to be the answer to every problem, and was getting a little wary, to say the least. Rainbow Dash had said as much herself, that perhaps owing him so much wasn't such a good idea. Rarity and Twilight, and even Fluttershy may have been suckered in by his generous, friendly demeanour, but she wouldn't succumb so easily to his charm. No, sir. But Flathoof trusted him, and for now that was good enough for Applejack. Of course, she completely ignored Rainbow's comment in that same vein about him, and wouldn't hear nothing about being no hypocrite from Rainbow Dash of all ponies. Flathoof was different. That was all there was to it. The den was mostly empty. Only Tick-Tock, Twilight, and Lockwood were still awake. Every pony else had already retired for the evening. As it was getting awfully late, Tick-Tock looked a mess, though thankfully she'd gotten proper care more quickly this time, and didn't look too bad. Mostly lots of bandages and a sling to keep her leg still while Twilight's magic repaired the damage. Well, don't you look a sight, Flathoof smiled. You've seen better days, that's for sure. Tick-Tock mock frowned. You're one to talk. She suddenly looked very sad. And I'm sorry about what happened to your friend. I feel responsible for it. That maniac used her to get to you, since you were with me. Flathoof looked stern, but didn't say anything. This made Tick-Tock's sullen expression worsen. Is her leg going to be okay, Twi? Applejack asked. She met Thick-Hoof already and seen how miserable he felt and acted, and knew that even back home, a pony with a broken leg was as good as useless. It was a sad fact of life, and she didn't wish that fate upon any pony. It wouldn't be if you hadn't got her here as quickly as you did, said Twilight. Restomancy, healing magic. It's not an easy field to work in. Very delicate stuff. There's so much that can go wrong in just a little something is even slightly off. I'm glad I had Fluttershy to help me with her bandage work. It was just a fracture, but if she tries to move it too much while it heals, it won't heal properly and she might break it next time she tries to walk. She'll be okay though. She's a fighter, I'd say. Flathoof made a mild frown. If only a pony like you had been around when my brother had his accident. Oh, come now. Expecting that kind of magic in this city is a little much. Don't look so downtrodden, pal. Lockwood smiled with assurance. I know you've lost a lot today, but if this little errand of ours is going to go well, we should try and start it in high spirits, Not that I'm trying to rush your grieving, he quickly added. I am sorry. Flathoof held up a hoof to dissuade his friend from continuing. Don't worry about it. I know what you mean. If I'm going to get through this, I should keep myself active, not lay about and mope and weep. So, I stand at my decision. I'm going to try to ensure these girls get home safe and sound. If it's the least I could do. He nodded with assertion in Tick-Tock's direction. We've already established that you're the one with the know-how to do what needs to be done for them. So I assume, then, that your plan remains unchanged? If by that you mean, are we still going to the gate to use those ruddy fake passes? Then yes, the plan is the same. Bloody well can't change it now. Not that I can think of any reason why we'd need to. I don't think I'm in any condition to try and climb over the wall, at any rate. Twilight perked up for a moment. Say, that reminds me. I had a pressing question about the whole situation. More specifically, what exactly our role in our worlds entails? Tick-Tock rolled her eyes. Great. This again. Now what are you going to argue about? Why is it so imperative that we get home so quickly? Applejack's jaw dropped. The hell's the matter with you, Twilight? Don't you all want to go home? Twilight defensively waved her hoof. That's not what I meant, of course. Of course I want to go home, Applejack. What I mean is, why is that really the only solution? TikTok raised an eyebrow. I don't follow. Well, couldn't Princess Celestia try to find new bearers of the elements? That way they'd be ready to combat Discord immediately, right? I mean, I don't feel right putting that kind of responsibility into someone else's hooves. But it sounds, well, safer. Considering the injuries you have sustained, and the likelihood of danger outside the city walls, I just wonder if perhaps we should reconsider our options. I don't want anybody getting hurt, or worse, on our account. TikTok moved to speak, then stopped a moment and hummed. This is an interesting theory. It certainly would ease things on our end a great deal. She quickly shook it off. But we'd have no way of contacting Hoof to inform him, and hoping he has that same theory himself is too risky. Considering how our last conversation ended, he likely would be considering other solutions. I have no idea what he might think of. He's not an easy pony to predict. I know that from experience. A good idea, Twilight, but not something that's in the cards for us. Twilight raised an eyebrow. I thought you said chronomancers could contact one another. TikTok suddenly looked very sullen and embarrassed. I'm afraid that is not possible. I made a grave error in my encounter with that maniac. I left my timekeeper in my TARDIS. I'm such a bleeding idiot. She frowned and made a mocking tone with her voice. What's rule number 1, TikTok? Always keep your timekeeper on your person. TikTok. Easiest bloody rule in the book. And I broke it like I'm some sort of stupid fool. I assume that it's important? A timekeeper, she explained, is everything a chronomancer needs to do. Well, anything and everything their job entails. It's how we open our TARDIS, how we control and destroy void portals, and other things as well. I'd go into it, but what's the point? It's not like I'm going to get to show it off. I left it on my desk when I entered the TARDIS, because I wasn't thinking. I was just eager to take a rest for a little bit after walking around the bleeding city all day. And when that brute attacked me, I never got the chance to pick it up. Couldn't we go back for it? She shook her head. You're making the assumption that he didn't lay a trap for me if I did come back for it. Or that it's even still there. The TARDIS door was left wide open. He could have easily gone back and nipped what he could. I wouldn't put it past him. Even if he's being taken care of, the chance of it even being there is slim to nil. I've already chanced myself against that bleeding mad pony twice, and I've come up on top by the skin of my teeth. I do not think I have the heart to try my luck a third time. Twilight nodded. Understandable, I suppose. If he left a bomb or something like he apparently had already done twice, we couldn't risk it. She sighed. Well, shoot, there goes my idea. I was hoping to avoid the risk of something happening and getting us delayed. We may as well follow through to your plan then, if that's the only viable option. Good. Glad to hear we finally agree on something, TikTok yawned. Now if you don't mind, I need to get some shut-eye. I've had a trying day. Twilight turned to the others and gestured for them to follow her out of the den. In the hallway, Twilight breathed a sigh of relief. I'm thankful she's okay. As much as her attitude is disagreeable, she seems to know more about the outside of the city than either of you. She looked at both Flathoof and Lockwood. She sounds like she's our best chance of getting out of here. Lockwood chuckled. Well, I wouldn't say I don't know anything about the outside with city walls. I just lack the personal experience. You'd be surprised what a little light reading can teach you. He smirked in Twilight's direction. Well, I suppose you wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, I assume the plan is settled? We head to the gate tomorrow morning and try to get as much distance between us and the city as we can before nightfall, yes? Sounds reasonable enough, Flat Earth nodded. We can decide on the route we wanted to take when TikTok is awake again. She might have a better suggestion than just hoofing it to cross a wasteland. There's got to be a safer route, and if any pony knows it, it's her. Right, Twilight nodded. Let's all get some rest then, We've got a big day ahead of us. Come along, Applejack. Applejack nodded and began to follow Twilight. Nighty night, y'all. Good night, Applejack, Flat Earth nodded, and thanks again. Don't mention it, sugar. Applejack smiled. Just keep in mind what I said, you hear? As the two ladies rounded the opposite corner, Lockwood and Flat Earth. Lockwood gave Flat Earth a playful jab. Flat Earth grunted. Hey, what was that for? Oh, nothing, sugar. Lockwood chuckled. Glad to see you're not letting things get you too down. I don't want to be the only one with a positive outlook on things. Come on, we should get some rest too. I guess I'm bunking with you tonight. I'm letting Fluttershy and Rarity use the room your mother usually reserves for me. Poor girls look like they needed a good, soft bed to rest on. Flat Earth caught a certain glimmer in Lockwood's eye and laughed. Glad to see you're still the same old Lockwood. That's right, He stopped and raised an eyebrow. Wait, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Nothing. Come on, let's get some shut-eye. Flat Earth made his way down the hall, leaving Lockwood behind for a moment. He sighed and shook his head before following. It came as some surprise to the Ponyville natives that the Gate District, despite being part of the Outer District, was quite distinct from the rest of the area on a pretty grand scale. It was even nicer than the Mid-Districts, in the sense that it had more accommodation than the like. But it wasn't high class like the Inner District was. Everything here looked more high-tech and more sinister, for a lack of a better word. And it made every pony who hadn't been here before feel a mite uncomfortable. Simple concrete and granite was replaced by iron and steel. The dulled browns and greens and reds of the rest of the city were replaced by sleek blacks and silvers. The buildings didn't appear to be so much as homes as they were simple living establishments, likely for the workers and staff only. And there weren't any shops or restaurants or leisure locations either. The ponies were nearly all moving in one direction, towards the city, as Lockwood put it. No pony ever really leaves Pandemonium for good. The passes are necessary to leave, sure, but you will also need them for when you inevitably want to come back in. They were mostly well dressed and well to do, which made sense if the pass prices were to be believed. The group wondered how many, if any, of the ponies were secretly using fake passes. One thing that made the Ponyville natives curious was that everything here seemed so well kept. There was no sign of decay, dereliction, dirt, grime, litter, or anything of the sort. Everything was clean and neat, neat to an almost sickening level. This place is so clean it makes Rarity's place look like a dump, Rainbow Dash scoffed. Well, I wouldn't go that far, dear, Rarity snorted. But I am glad to see that at least one place in this dreadful city has a certain degree of consideration for its appearance. Even the hospital wasn't this clean, which I find quite disturbing if I do say so myself. Everything here is kept under constant maintenance, Flat Earth explained. After all, what good would it do to have a massive gate to let ponies in and out of the city if one day everything broke down? Well, that makes sense, Twilight nodded. But where are all the work crews that should be doing that kind of work? The only ponies I've seen so far look mostly like tourists and business ponies and those kind of characters. Flav shrugged. No pony ever sees them work really, which is odd considering there are ponies walking to and fro around here at all times of the day. Mostly MPPD patrols making sure no vagrants are trying to sneak through. Not that they could anyway, but you can't really blame any pony for trying. Mostly to himself, he added. Odd though, I haven't seen any MPPD patrols, now that I come to think of it. Rumour is they all work underground, Lockwood said in a mock eerie tone, and that they're all mutants that have been conscripted into service of the government in exchange for setting them loose to be swarmed upon by the unsympathetic masses. Mutants? Applejack blinked. What in tarnation y'all mean? I guess the best way to describe them is deformed ponies, Lockwood said with hesitation. It's kind of hard to imagine without seeing them. Oh my, Fluttershy peeped, fearfully looking all around her for any little crevice or alleyways some horrible beast could pop out and maim her and her friends. She huddled even closer to Rarity than she had been before. Deformities, Rarity blanched. Good heavens, how dreadful. It's like I said when you all first got here. If any pony thought you were from the wasteland instead of Utopia, they'd think you'd have some kind of mutation. Albeit in your case, one that was a little more subtle. Flathoof nodded. He shrugged a little. I've seen case files of some of that more transformative mutations, and I tell you, they aren't pretty. Let's just leave it at that. Oh, what kind of mutation are we talking about? Pinky bubbled. Like, are we talking about my laser vision? Oh, are we talking about laser vision? Because that's one of my favourite ones. I wish I could shoot laser beams out of my eyes. Oh, pew pew and stuff. But then I'd have to wear a dumb visor so that I didn't shoot all my friends up by accident. I'd look a little silly. That's not the kind of mutation we're talking about, Lockwood blinked. Seriously, what? Yeah, we're talking more like real deformities. Flutter raised an eyebrow. Like extra bits or missing bits. Not something you'd probably really get excited for. Sounds serious, Twilight gulped. You don't think something like that could happen to us out there, could it? That's just a silly old piece of rubbish the government likes to spread about to dissuade ponies from leaving on foot. So they have to buy the ludicrously overpriced airship tickets. TikTok chuckled. I suppose if something like that could happen, I must be the luckiest pony alive, because I'm immune to it. I spend plenty of time outside the city gates, and I don't have any bleeding mutations. Pinkie Pie hopped over and gave TikTok a mocking scrutinous gaze. Are you sure? Quite sure, TikTok nodded. She warily stepped back as Pinkie moved in closer. Her gaze tried to pierce a veil that wasn't there. Stop looking at me like that. Just checking, Pinkie giggled. Wouldn't want to be travelling around with you and have you go all big and green. Well, you're already green, but I mean you wouldn't want you all getting all mad at Twilight for asking too many questions, and then you'd say something like, "Grrr, Twilight, you're making me angry," and then you'd start getting bigger and bigger, and you'd rip off your clothes, and then you'd all be like, "TikTok smash," and all that. TikTok blinked in utter disbelief and looked at the others. Seriously, where the bloody hell did she get all these ridiculous ideas? Laser vision? Shape-shifting? Twilight and the others all shrugged. She confuses the rest of us just as much most of the time. I wouldn't question it too much if I were you. That's just Pinkie Pie being. That's just Pinkie being Pinkie. I say this all the time, but you all really need to get out more. Pinkie rolled her eyes. Come on, Dashi. You've seen my comic book collection. You know what I'm talking about. I'll be honest, Pinkie. When I'm in your room, the last thing on my mind is your weird hobbies. Rainbow chuckled. Pinkie grumbled. Yeah. You're interested in my toys. I ain't talking about my action fig. Pinkie Pie! Jeez! Rainbow flustered. Anyway, coughed Flathoof. Time to focus, ladies. We're almost to the check-in station. Sure enough, only a short distance ahead was the gate itself. They had yet to see it. Despite its size, it was obscured by the other buildings, awnings and tunnels they had to walk through en route. But now, getting to see it in full, Twilight decided that she was done trying to figure out the sense of scale this city had. Why in the world would one need a gate this big if the only things coming in and out of it were ponies? Furthermore, what sense was there in just building a big wall and gate to keep ponies out? Pegasi could fly, couldn't they? What was keeping them from flying over? The gate towered over the rest of the city, only outsized by the massive skyscrapers in the centre. Pandora. The Ponyville citizens had yet to see that building clearly, though they had at least caught a glimpse of the massive beacon of magical energy it generated. The gate, though, was right there here in front of them, and there seemed to be no logical reason why it was so big. The rest of the walls of the city were smaller than the gate by almost a factor of 2 to 1. And those were already tall enough to easily, from what Twilight could remember from her research, force an Ursa Major to do a little climbing. The gate was easily large enough to keep 2 Ursa Majors, and maybe an Ursa Minor, standing on one another's shoulders from touching the top. But why? Why is it so big? She asked. What, the gate? Lockwood blinked. Oh, that's because... Fluff chimed in. Well, obviously, it's to keep out... TikTok rolled her eyes. I like to think the gate is a little just like Pandora. And whoever built the city is just compensating for something. Rainbow and Pinky snorted. Rarity was clearly trying to suppress a laugh as well. The group approached the gate, which was split into 2 halves, as it were. The left side has ponies coming in. The right side had ponies going out. Or rather, would have ponies going out if there were any ponies going out at the time. At the moment, the exit signs seemed to be rather devoid of crowds. The 2 sides were separated by a divider wall, and both sides were already open. This confused Twilight even more. Why is it open? Isn't the point of a gate to be closed? It's only open for... Ponies getting in or out, yes, of course, Fluff interrupted. But you see, with so many ponies coming and going, it doesn't make sense to try and open and close the massive thing every time a pony knocks, you know? Ah, Twilight nodded. Then she shook her head. Wait, what? Well then, what's the point of it in having the thing so big? This sea doesn't make any sense. She's finally catching on, TikTok laughed. Only took you, what, 3 days? Haha, very funny, Twilight glared. They approached the outgoing exit, which, somewhat surprisingly, was completely empty. There wasn't much hint that a crowd had been nearby in hours at least. Shouldn't there be more ponies here? Rainbow asked. It seems a little deserted. Well, it is the winter quarter. Very few ponies leave for the Utopian continent this time of year, Lockwood explained. Utopia is supposedly a hot summer quarter destination. Not really best for winter, really. Still seems a little odd, she said again. Oh, Dashy, lighten up a little, Pinky grinned. This isn't like you, being all grumpy Gus all the time. Just trying to keep a lookout is all, Rainbow shrugged. Some pony has to. The entrance was amounted to a massive hallway several city blocks long. In fact, it was a station loaded with all sorts of machines. Flathoof approached it, specifically the machine with a large blue screen and a slot beneath it. He fished out his gate pass from the pocket of his shirt. This is the card reader that is going to let us all through, he explained. Just insert your card here. He did so. The blue screen made a few beeping noises, then turned green. A few of the other machines had whirred to life, but none of the ponies present could see them do much else of anything. Except, of course, for the tree of unicorns that could see the effects of very subtle magic flowing around Flathoof. He continued. And now I'm able to pass through the gate sensors. Rarity did not recognize the spell quite exactly, but Twilight knew it was an identifier spell. It was able to identify Flathoof based only on the information on his passport was beyond her. Since she never remembered giving out anything that could be used for such a task. Not to the MPPD, and definitely not to Kenai. Curious indeed, certain aspects of the city fascinated her more and more. And if not for her haste to get home, she would love to get the chance to do more research on the way things worked. Lockwood stepped forward and brandished his own passport, with a bright smile. And, as an act of good faith, allow me to demonstrate that the passports you lovely young ladies are using will work just as well as all Flathoofs. He swiped his card as well, and the screen turned an approving green colour all the same. He bowed to the others. See? No problem at all. I am nothing if not dependable, if I do say so myself. The machines are so easy to fool. You'd have to really scrutinise these to spot the fakes. Twilight stepped forward next. Well then, let's get to it, girls. Time to get out of this crazy city and start getting back home. She swiped her card as well. A few bleeps, the screen approved, and Twilight smiled at her friends in a confident grin. See, Rainbow? Everything's fine. No trouble. Pinky's right. You really need to... Yeah, I get it, Rainbow grumbled. She stepped in next and used hers. Green. All of this just seems to be too convenient, if you ask me, she muttered to herself. The other Ponyville natives stepped in and used their passes too. All of them approved and ready to move through the gate. At last, TikTok stepped in and readied her own passport. She looked at the screen rather nervously, glanced back at the card and back at the screen again. Something the matter, TikTok? Twilight asked. You've done this a dozen times before, right? What's up? TikTok quickly shook her head. I guess I'm just a little cautious. I've dealt with a lot of crap these last 2 days, and I just get a strange feeling that everything I do is going to end in some horrible disaster. I've had enough bloody problems. Don't fret over it, darling, Rarity said sweetly. We're all here together now. Yeah, Wait, who's saying this? Yeah, if anything, or any pony tries to give y'all trouble, then they'll be in for a load of trouble back from us, you hear? Applejack nodded. Yeah, we'll give him the old what for. Or even maybe what 5. That's like the next level, Pinky bounced. And she starts singing, but I'm not going to bother. Oh, come on, you guys got us singing again, Rainbow groaned. More singing. Seriously, Pinky, we don't have time for this, Twilight grumbled. I'm not. Don't expect me to sing, because honestly, I will not. That's me! Pinky chirped. That's me! Pinky chirped from suddenly within the group. TikTok's jaw dropped. What in the bloody hell was that? She likes to sing, Twilight chuckled nervously. Don't mind her, really. It's just something you have to get used to. What in Equestria have I signed up for? TikTok slapped. Let's just get this over with. She took a deep breath. She swiped the card through the reader. She felt the tingles of magic wash over her. The machine beeped a few times. The few seconds it took seemed to take hours. The machine flashed an approving green. She breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, things are looking up. See? Nothing to worry about, Twilight smiled. You just need to relax and take it easy if you get all stressed out. This journey might get the better of you. Gee, thanks. TikTok rolled her eyes. The group proceeded to the gate's exit corridor. A long, almost foreboding hallway awaited them, stretching off into the distance. There was no light at the end of the tunnel, nothing to mark the exit, just long lines of darkness stretching off into the distance ahead of them. Obscuring even the familiar, if unwelcome, sight of the dreary, orange, smoky sky above. They began to walk. The walls of the gate interior did not leave much room for optimism or comfort. The sleek silvers outside were replaced by dark reds. The black had taken over as the dominant colour. The walls were rigid, straight. There was no corners to hide, yet the tall sides prevented almost any light from getting in and cast a gloomy shadow across the entire expanse. Fluttershy huddled in close to Rarity. Rarity, do you think that everything will be okay? Rarity gave a comforting smile. Of course, sweetheart. If we all stick together, there's nothing to fear. I'm still just so anxious about this new world, I mean. I don't know where we are, or what we're doing, or where we're going, or how we're going to get there. There's so many unknowns. I'm just worried. Rarity grinned. What do you think maybe if you knew a little more about what's up ahead, you'd feel a little better? I suppose so. But then what say we have a little talk with some pony that knows quite a lot more than we do about this world. Doesn't that sound nice? Fluttershy tilted her head. Oh, I don't... No need to be bashful, darling. Come on, let's go have a little chat with him. Oh, okay, if you... Fluttershy stopped a moment. Wait, him? We're not going to talk to Miss TikTok. I thought she was the authority on... Rarity gave a little laugh. Heavens no, darling. As much as I'm sure she knows that... as much as she knows, that young lady has much too much on her mind at the moment. I think... And as you can see, she gestured in TikTok's direction, where she was busy talking, though rather arguing would be more accurate with Twilight Sparkle. She seems to already be having a little more discourse with some pony else. Mr. Lockwood should be more than adequate, if I do say so myself. She gave Fluttershy a tiny wink at that. This made the Pegasus tilt her head in confusion. I see what Rarity's doing. She just wants an opportunity to talk to Lockwood. She trotted her head in the formation a bit, Fluttershy warily at her side, to catch up to Lockwood. Hello, Mr. Lockwood. Hello, Mr. Lockwood? He quirked his head to the side in acknowledgement. First of all, thank you so much for letting us use your room last night. Your bed was simply marvellous, even in these less than ideal living conditions. Oh, that was no trouble at all, Miss Rarity. Lockwood smiled. I understand you take a deal of pride in your appearance and poise, and it simply wouldn't do to let you use anything but the best. He quickly added, and Miss Fluttershy as well, of course. Such a nice young lady, and you two are such close friends. I wouldn't want to separate you. Rarity smiled as well. Such a gentle pony. I was wondering if you would be willing to keep my dear friend Fluttershy a little bit of company for the time being. The poor dear is so delicate, you understand. And could use the assurance of some pony with the knowledge of the area, she hinted. Ah, Lockwood nodded. Certainly, of course. I'm not one to turn down a request from a lady. Splendid. Come now, Fluttershy. You can ask Mr. Lockwood anything you want if it will make you feel better. Fluttershy squeaked and gave a little nod. Rainbow Dash, in the meanwhile, gave a disapproving glare. I don't like any of this, she said to Pinkie Pie privately. Every pony's getting a bit too buddy-buddy with those three, especially him. It always smells a bit fishy to me, if you ask me. Pinkie Pie sniffed in the air a few times. I don't smell any fish, Dashy. Rainbow gave an annoyed look. Kidding, just kidding. I'm not a dummy. I know you're worried. You do? Rainbow raised an eyebrow. Duh. I mean, it's obvious. You're still super duper suspicious about our new friends. You don't trust them. You don't want to, especially Mr. Lockwood. You really don't seem to like him. Rainbow blinked. Wow, that's really observant of you. Pinkie brandished the magnifying glass she'd pulled from nowhere. Sherlock Pie doesn't miss anything. She tripped. Rainbow stifled a laugh. You okay there, Pinks? Yup. Pinkie bounced to her feet. Just took a little trip. Rainbow gave her a cautious look. She waved her hoof dismissively. Don't worry, it wasn't a Pinky Sense trip like last time. Just a clumsy Pinky trip. Right. Rainbow smirked. She turned her serious face on again. Just promise me one thing, Pinky. Pinky nodded enthusiastically. No matter what happens, you stick by me, okay? As if that's a hard promise to keep, Pinky giggled. I'm practically glued to you as it is. I just want to hear it, Pinky. Please? Something about all this really stinks. Until we get home, I'm not ready to let up on my suspicions. So please, just give me a promise that at least you'll be the sane one with me. Rainbow chuckled. You know I'm worried when I'm asking you to be the sensible one. Pinky nodded. For you, Dashi, you better get... You get better than a Pinky swear. You get a Pinky promise. And I'll always stick with you, Dashi. She leaned in and gave Dash a nuzzle. Rainbow turned pink. Thanks, Pinky. Suddenly Pinky stopped, dead in her tracks. Uh-oh. Rainbow turned. What's the matter? I feel a combo coming. Rainbow called out to Twilight. Hey, Twi, we've got a reading over here. Twilight hurriedly trotted over to where she'd been chatting with TikTok. What's the problem? Pinky Sense time, Twi, Rainbow said quickly. She said it was a combo. Pinky bounced. Oh, here it comes. Eye flutter, knee twitch, ear flop. Twilight observed. Interesting. Pinky stopped moving and put a hoof to her chin. Huh, that's weird. A new one? Yeah, I don't think I've seen that combo before, Rainbow scratched her head. What does that mean? Well, how would I know, Dashi? It's new, duh. Pinky sighed. I'm not psychic, you know. Oh, see? Now that would be a cool mutation to have, I bet. Ugh, never mind, Rainbow sighed. Twilight raised a hoof in realization. Aha! I've got it! I knew it seemed familiar somehow. It's the reverse of her watch for opening doors combo. Rainbow threw her hoof in the air in exasperation. What the hey does that mean? Watch out for closing doors? In case you haven't noticed, Twi, we're in the middle of a really long hallway with no doors or windows or anything at all. Twilight thought for a moment, then looked up in panic. Oh dear, she yelled out to the others. Every pony, we need to move, now! She didn't leave time for questions and began towards the exit. They were so close they could begin to see the light from the end. Rainbow hastily flew up alongside her as Twilight had already started off to a gallop. Whoa, what the hey, Twi, what's up? Don't you get it? Twilight flustered. A gate is a kind of door. The gate is going to... Suddenly a loud siren blared. And the gateway was lit up with a bright red and yellow light. An announcement coolly made over the declaration that all the ponies could hear. And would have been able to from anywhere in the entire corridor. Attention! Unauthorized citizen has been detected in Gateway Sector 8. All citizens currently in the Sector 9 are advised to stay clear. And those in Sector 10 are advised to vacate the area immediately. Sector 10 will be shutting down in 60 seconds. Repeat, all citizens in Sector 9... Oh, horse apples! Applejack huffed, and she broke into speed. Come on, every pony. You all heard the lady. We gotta vacate. TikTok gave a fierce swear. This is exactly what I bloody knew would happen. Bugger this whole damn city. The group hustled their way ahead. Their hearts sank as they could see the edges of the gateway walls begin to close in the distance. The light was getting narrower and narrower, even as they were getting closer and closer. Oh, not good, Flathoof panted. We'll never make it. Come on, Rainbow called Rainbow. Move! As the group got closer and closer to the final section of the gate, they could see more clearly that it was far too late. Even if they could all move at Rainbow Dash's speed, she was furthest ahead and holding her speed slightly so she didn't get separated from the others. Even she had to slam on her brakes to keep from eating steel and iron. Sector 10 was a few dozen yards long, and the gate closed off the entire sector. The gate closed with a loud crunch. They were trapped in Sector 9, with nowhere to go but back the way they came. Oh, shoot. Now what are we gonna do? Rainbow stamped her hoof. This doesn't make sense, Lockwood said. If we were unauthorized, it would have alerted the authorities when we tried to use the passes in the first place. This looks like a technical issue. I knew this was all good to be true, Rainbow spat, glaring at Lockwood. I bet those stupid passes are to blame for this. They aren't, Lockwood sputtered. I swear, I've used mine before. They work flawlessly. This isn't my fault. What would you suggest we do? Flathoof asked. TikTok sighed. Perhaps we should turn back and ask a gate technician to... Hang on now. Wouldn't the gate technician want to see our passes? Twilight asked. They might find the passes are fake. If Lockwood is right about them being suspicious under serious scrutiny, I don't like the sound of that. Well, what would you have us do? Lockwood sighed. Should we wait? The MPBD is notoriously slow in these matters. We might be here hours. It would take less time than that to just walk back, find a tech, fix this, and walk back again. I don't think we'll be waiting that long, Applejack pointed. Them ponies coming this way don't look like they're wearing the same uniform y'all do. She looked at Flathoof. Same colour maybe, but not the same. She squinted to look at the troop of ponies that were approaching at a brisk pace. His eyes widened suddenly. What in the hay? This ain't right. Lockwood stepped forward. Now what's the matter? Freaking scrolling on my laptop, hang on. Now what's the matter? Flathoof pointed. You're right about the MPPD taking their sweet time, but the military is a different story. Lockwood nearly jumped. What? The military? That's not right at all. This isn't their jurisdiction. Yeah, well, they sure as hay making a beeline right for us. Flathoof frowned. I sure hope that quick mouth of yours has some fancy words to say, Rainbow glared. It sure seemed to work so far, hasn't it? Lockwood shot a hurt look at Rainbow Dash. Really now, this isn't my fault. Just a misunderstanding, I'm sure. Rainbow grumbled to herself. Misunderstanding. Right. Flathoof frowned. I don't like the look of this. The squad of soldiers approached swiftly, and now all the ponies could see them clearly. There were 5 of them. 4 wore sleek black uniforms that covered them from head to toe. Surely that should be head to hoof. With shiny masks that hid their faces. They appeared thick and heavy, probably armoured to protect them from whatever it was that they had kept the city safe from. They all appeared to be earth ponies. The 5th, a Pegasus, wore the same uniform, but wore no shield over his face, as his head could clearly be seen. He was a pale purple-pink colour with short salmon pink hair, kept in a neat flat top. Clearly the leader of the squad. When they approached the other ponies, it was he who took the position at the forefront. He removed a small electronic device from his pocket and examined it quickly, then turned back to his men. These are the ponies we're looking for, he said to them. Prepare to take them into custody. Hang on, Flathoof sputtered. Flathoof sputtered. Why did I say Flutterhoof? Flathoof sputtered, taking a step forward. Custody? We're under arrest? Didn't you hear the alert? Unauthorized ponies are here in the gateway, and apart from me and my men, you're the only ponies here. And my records show that each and every one of you is unauthorized. See, totally called it, Rainbow spat at Lockwood. This is your fault. I Lockwood balked. Hang on a tick. My pass is unauthorized. TikTok flustered. I just used it 3 weeks ago, and I've been using it for years. Passes don't expire. I'm a captain in the MPPD. My pass is perfectly valid too. Flathoof stepped forward. Not according to my records, he said with a cursory glance. According to this, Miss TikTok, your pass expired 2 days ago. And with a cocky smirk at Flathoof. And yours expired last night. Very strange. Very strange that the check-in station didn't catch those. Must be a technical problem. That's a crock of... I'd watch your tone, Mr. Flathoof, the Pegasus sneered. It seems in my records here that I'm Also to take you into custody for the murder of one officer's snapshot. Flutter turned white. Excuse me? Terrible shame, one corrupt cop killing another. What? How dare you? Flutter seethed. I saw the party responsible for it, and I tried to take him in. I informed the station of it while I was fleeing from the scene, according to them. The Pegasus grinned. There was no other pony in the area when the authorities arrived. Critically injured or not, and now here you are, apparently trying to leave the city. Awfully suspicious circumstances, you see. Cop killing is a very serious offence in this city, Mr. Flathoof. Be glad that I've decided to take you in, rather than deliver your inevitable sentence right here and now. He turned back to the others. As for the rest of you, I have my orders. You're coming with me. Under whose authority? Flathoof glared. And who exactly are you? TikTok interjected. He addressed her question first. Commander Jetstream, New Pandemonium Armed Forces Special Ops Unit Omega. Whose authority is none of your concern. He turned back to Flathoof. I'd be more worried about being under arrest if I were you. We're not exactly as delicate as the MPPD is, you understand. He turned back to his men. Enough chatter. Take them in. One of the soldiers stepped forward and made to grab at Flathoof, before being lifted rather unceremoniously off his feet by a purple glow. He dangled and flailed in the air for a moment. As Twilight Sparkle, horn aglow, stepped forward. She said simply, no. Jetstream laughed. He didn't seem too concerned about his trooper's helplessness. No? My dear, if you're looking to force the issue, I said no! She interrupted, speaking firmly. My friends and I have gone too far to stop now, and we're too close to getting out of this city once and for all to care about your rules and regulations anymore. We're not going nowhere. Not as long as I have anything to say about it. The commander's expression turned sour. So be it. He didn't bother turning to his men this time. Remember your orders. Take those 6 mares alive. The 2 stallions and the green mare are fair game. I have no orders concerning their well-being. If it makes it easier, he smirked, kill them. The other 3 soldiers stepped forward, and Twilight stared them down. Flathoof stood firm, and was joined quickly by Applejack and Rainbow Dash, who flanked him on either side. About time we got to playing by my kind of rules, Rainbow smirked. I was getting tired of all the fancy talk answers to all our problems. Never knew you had it in you, Twi. I just figured, what would a brave pony like Rainbow Dash do? Twilight chuckled. It wouldn't be the first time it got me out of trouble. You guys keep them busy. I'm going to open the gate back up. You got it, Sugar Cube. Applejack grinned. Come on, Rainbow. Let's see what kind of fire y'all got in you. Twilight dropped the magic from her horn, letting the hapless soldier she'd been levitating drop, and moved quickly to the massive gate wall. The other 3 soldiers moved in fast on the 3 ponies barring their path. She sprinted to close the distance between herself and the closed sector. As she passed the others, she called, Rarity, TikTok, with me! We've got to get the gate open. We've got a gate to open. Same thing. The 2 unicorns quickly joined the 3rd, followed closely by Fluttershy and Lockwood, the former of which was almost desperately clinging to the latter. Pinkie Pie, meanwhile, was nowhere to be seen. Twilight was deeply concerned, and hoped it was just Pinkie Pie being Pinkie Pie, ready to pop up out of nowhere when needed. Twilight surveyed the gate with firm focus. It seemed bigger now that it truly barred their way physically, not just symbolically. She turned to Rarity. Rarity, do you remember the spell you cast with TikTok the other day, to superpower her shield? She nodded. Of course, darling. A surprisingly simple spell after the fact. Well, I need you 2 to use it on me, to reinforce my magic, so I can try and pry this thing open. Certainly that isn't going to work, TikTok interrupted. Twilight balked. Excuse me? It won't work. Simple as that. You're in over your head. Twilight smoked warily. Hello, element of magic here. I know the gate looked heavy, TikTok, but weight has nothing to do with it. You've shown you're bloody well more powerful than any other unicorn I know, and I'm certain you'd get it to budge if we chipped in. But the problem is the gate is protected by an anti-magic field. If a particularly powerful spell could just tear the gate open, it would be pretty ineffective as a protective measure, would it not? Rarity huffed. How cliché. Isn't it always? Twilight rolled her eyes. No problem. I happen to know a few spells that should break through any enchantments on the gate. I think a little dispel magic will do the trick. TikTok scoffed. Your flawed logic is amusing. Use magic on an anti-magic field to remove the magic resistance from the thing that it's protecting so that you can cast magic on it. Yup, that sounds bloody brilliant. Real cracker, that one. Twilight glared. What is with you? Why is every idea I have so stupid to you, huh? I don't see you coming up with any ideas. In fact, all of this, she gestured to everything around her, wasn't even your plan in the first place. It was Lockwood's. And getting us out of this world was Doctor Who's ideas, not yours. TikTok glared back. Cute. You want an idea? Here's one. Take that "Oh, I'm the element of magic" and the princess's prized pupil and ISO's special crap and shove it right up your... Ahem! Rarity coughed loudly. Ladies, please. This is no time to bicker and argue. We need to get out of this mess, and quickly. So if I may suggest that you two put your differences aside for a moment, I'm certain the others, who are busy risking themselves back there, would not appreciate this wasting time. Rarity's worry was, to be blunt, well warranted. The fighting was not going all that smoothly. Applejack, in the midst of wrestling with one of the soldiers on the ground, found herself tackled from behind by its partner, who she'd just bucked away a few moments ago. It seemed that every time she managed to get one of them out of the action for a few moments, he would be back again in less and less time. "Do y'all ever run out of energy?" she panted as she stared down the two. "Oh, that training must be pretty darn good." Rainbow Dash, in the meantime, was taking advantage of herself being able to fly, what little advantage it did provide. However, was only being able to take a breather for a moment if she noticed the odds turning against her. She couldn't stay airborne and rest for long, because when she did, one of her designated opponents would simply target either Applejack, who was already outnumbered and dealing with 2 soldiers, or Flathoof, who was keeping Jetstream busy and preventing the Pegasus from taking off after Twilight and the others. If they had more opponents to assist them, maybe things would be more in their favour. Lockwood was busy keeping Fluttershy calm. Rainbow was, for a brief moment, thankful that the yellow Pegasus did trust him so much enough to feel safe near him and not fall into a panic, or worse, an immobile shock as she was wont to do when frightened. But Rainbow Dash had more pressing question in mind, and she swept down again to bowl over one of the soldiers that turned its back to move on Flathoof. She shouted her question aloud. "Where the hell is Pinkie Pie?" Twilight frowned. Perhaps there's a way to open the gate without magic. "I was getting to that," TikTok huffed. "We would have to find the maintenance panel and try to hack it." "Hack?" Twilight blinked. "Like with an axe?" TikTok sighed. "I really wish I wasn't the only unicorn with extensive knowledge of techno-magic. Come on, just help me with this panel. It should be nearby." "Is it? Wait, is this it?" called Pinkie Pie from over near a blank wall. TikTok did a double take. "Pinkie Pie? Where in the..." She shook her head. "Never mind. No, Pinkie, that's not it." "It isn't?" Pinkie tilted her head. "No, it's just a blank wall." "It is?" Pinkie's head tilted further, until it was nearly upside down. TikTok groaned. "I really don't have time for this." Are you sure this isn't it? Pinky asked with a certain exasperation. Because when I touch it, it does this. She touched it. The wall gave a hiss and slid slightly to reveal it was a hidden panel covering an assortment of buttons and wires and levers. See, I thought it was weird that the wall would slide out and show all sorts of techie stuff. And then you went and said something about the panel and hey, this looks like a panel to me. Huh? TikTok's eyes widened as she hustled over. This is it! When did you... When... How... What? Guess that just leaves why and who, doesn't it? Pinky giggled. Like I said to Dashi, nothing gets past Sherlock Pie. She boastfully bounced. Speaking of which, I'd better get back to helping Dashi out. She's a little overwhelmed at the moment. Glad I could help you guys too. Toodles! The pink party pony was off in a blur towards the scuffle behind them. She was quick to enter the fray in typical Pinky fashion, unexpectedly. As one of Applejack's opponents that she'd managed to knock to the ground at a moment struggled to stand, Pinky bounded over and offered him a hoof up. He took it, and he was rewarded with a powerful electric shock that stunned him back to the floor. Pinky was a little surprised at how quickly he went down. Rainbow Dash got shocks like that rather regularly, and was always able to keep on going immediately after. The pony collapsed like a sack of bricks. She simply scratched her head, shrugged, and bounded over to continue with her business. TikTok's face contorted in absolute befuddlement. What in the bloody hell just happened? She shook her head in confusion again. Whatever. I think I'm just going to stop questioning how that ridiculous pony works. Yes, that is best, TikTok. That is best. She leaned in to examine the various wires and switches, and gave a loud humming in thought. This shouldn't be too difficult. Sparkle, over here. Yes, oh knowledgeable one, Twilight mocked as she trotted over. How may I be of assistance? TikTok ignored the tone. I'm detecting a number of magical energy conduits here, but I can't tell them apart from the electrical ones. I'm guessing there's a pretty potent veil spell on them. But I think you can pierce it. You know, a tracer spell, do you not? Any bony with half a brain knows. A simple yes or no will do. Twilight grit her teeth. Yes, then. I know one. Good. Your magic is stronger than mine, so it should be able to identify which is which. Highlight them for me, so I can redirect the magic elsewhere and try to lower the anti-magic field. Twilight nodded in understanding. Oh, that's why my dispel wouldn't work. The barrier is being kept constantly refreshed by machinery. Fascinating stuff. I like it. I'd love a chance to study. Twilight! TikTok rolled her eyes. Yes? Trace a spell, please! Oh, right. Twilight blushed. Sorry. Twilight's horn glowed bright, and the glow wrapped itself around all the wires in the little alcove. Several of the once black wires began to glow different colours. The ones without any magic at all remained black, while the others with magic turned either red, blue or green. Rarity trotted over. If you ladies all are ready to act civil, you don't need my assistance, it might be best if I return to the others. They could likely use my help. That's fine, Rarity. We've got it covered here. Twilight nodded quickly. Please be careful. Darling, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's being careful. Rarity haughtily smirked. Try not to strangle one another before you're finished, Rarity galloped back to where the scuffle was starting to take a better turn, but was still rather unevenly matched. The pony Pinky had shocked was back up and running, although he seemed a little lopsided for some reason. He was busy running towards Applejack from behind again, to get her off of pinning her other opponent. Rarity put a stop to that by latching onto one of his hoofs with her magic and causing him to trip. Rainbow Dash grappled with one of the soldiers when Pinkie Pie, from particularly out of thin air, popped around from behind him and like a hat latched herself onto his head. He flailed about a little to get her off. I've got him! Urgh! Pinky growled. Rainbow smirked and delivered a swift buck to his midsection. Said pony's midsection was knocked several meters away. Said pony's head remained tight in Pinky's grip, and she fell to the ground with it in her hooves. She looked at it. She looked at Rainbow. Rainbow looked at it. She looked at Pinky. Ah! They both screamed. Dashy, what did you do? Me? You were the one holding his head! Oh, they may or may not have decapitated him. I'm holding a head! Get away, get away! She chucked it. It hit Rarity in the face, making her lose control of her magic and fling the pony she was holding into the wall. He smashed into it head first, shattering his face shield. He fell to the floor in a heap and didn't look like he was getting up anytime soon. That was a terrible... Yeah. She shuffled her hooves around in panic. By Celestial Rainbow Dash! What did you do? And look what you did to me! Look what you made me do! I swear it was self-defense, Rainbow pleaded. You all saw it. If y'all have time to chat, maybe y'all have time to help! Applejack shouted, busy trying to buck one of the soldiers while avoiding bucks from another. Rainbow Dash was quick to fly in and tackle the pony assailing Applejack. Rarity blanched as she looked down, and then did a double take. Hold on a moment. She lifted it up with the magic and examined it. There's no blood, she shuddered. She looked inside and saw a most curious sight. Wires? How odd. They look like the same kind that maintenance panel had back there. Wires? Pinky chirped as she popped up from behind Rarity. That's silly. Birds don't have wires in their necks. That's silly. You're silly, Rarity. No, look. Rarity gestured insistently. See? Wires. That's not normal, right? Zombie! Zombie pony! Pinky yelled, pointing behind Rainbow Dash. Rainbow bucked her current opponent hard and then turned. The headless pony from before was slowly rising to his feet. Well, you see, Pinky, that's not exactly accurate. So zombies don't live through being decapitated. But, I digress. Oh, what the... She managed to say before the headless pony rushed at her. Rainbow had to take to the air to avoid the tackle, and the headless pony crashed instead into its partner. Pinky balked. Wait a second. Oh, she does realise this. That's good. Wait a second. Zombies die if you remove their heads. That's like rule 1 in every zombie movie. That and zombies don't have wires. They have guts and blood and rotten flesh and... Pinky, what kind of things do you watch? Seriously. Pinky, please, Rarity blanched. I suppose it's some sort of machine and it runs on techno-magic. Like the gadgetry our Twilight and TikTok are fiddling around with back there. She huffed as she dropped her spell, letting the head fall onto the ground. They're not living, breathing ponies. That much is for certain. And they never were either. Pinky slapped her hoofs together. Aha! That's why my shock buzzer made the other pony. As she gestured to the one Rarity had flung against the wall earlier, who was apparently also starting to get up. All short-circuity. See? Now electrical manipulation. That's a pretty cool mutant power too. And I guess unless you wanted to swim, because that's a bad idea. Rainbow's grin turned wicked. Oh man, this is gonna be fun. Fun? Darling, this is combat we're talking about here. I'm hesitant enough as it is to do a simple roughhousing, let alone for full-fledged fighting. Try taking this a little seriously, Rainbow Dash. Oh, I'm taking it serious, alright. Rainbow nodded. She yelled over to Applejack, who was busy dealing with another of the apparently not ponies on the road. Yo, AJ, these ponies ain't real ponies. They're like robots or something. You know what that means. Applejack turned quickly to face her, then back to the mechanical opponent she was busy grappling. I reckon it means I ain't need to worry about hurting no pony, just trying to do their job. Damn right, Rainbow cheered, barreling forward. Time for me to really dish out the damage. AJ, heads up! Applejack ducked. Rainbow tackled the Earth Pony's former opponent with a blazing speed. The machine was knocked off balance. Rainbow was able to use the leverage to sweep it upwards with her. Lifted into the air and released, the machine flew several dozen yards before crashing to the ground and snapping its legs clean off. Whoa, Nelly! Y'all Pegasus sure do fight dirty. Applejack blanched. Remind me never to pick a real fight with any of y'all, okay? Yeah? Jetstream watched as one of the troopers was permanently disabled and scowled at Flathoof. The red stallion merely grinned. I don't suppose you're a robot too? He headbutted the Pegasus in the face in the moment of distraction. Jetstream flinched and blood splattered from his nostrils. Flathoof laughed. Guess not. Meanwhile, TikTok was warily fiddling with one of the headlighted blue wires in the panel. She twisted it and wired it together with one of the red ones, causing the stream to start turning a bright purple colour that sparkled and hissed. Got it! She cheered. I think I got it! The gate gave a resounding clang, and the walls near them started to make a low whirring noise, as if coming to life. A siren blared. Attention! Due to technical malfunctions in Sector 9, the Sector 9 section of the gate is now closing. All citizens in Section 8 and 10 are advised to stay clear of the area, and those in Section 9 are advised to vacate the area immediately. Repeat. I don't get it, TikTok gulped. Oh, bugger. Twilight glared daggers. Some idea this was? I can fix this. Just keep that tracer on. I can fix this. She hastily twisted another of the red wires and redirected its magical flow into the slot the blue flow was coming from. Connected the green to the one to a red one, sliced the red one and attached the halves to connect into other slots. None of the colours were interacting much, and nothing seemed to be changing, or happening at all. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it! She swore loudly. This bloody piece of junk! She slammed her hood down hard on the panel, and it gave a very loud whirring noise. All the wires that had been mixed around started glowing, and the colours intermingled until the entire rainbow was shining from the panel box. Warning! Warning! Attention maintenance personnel! The anti-magic field on the Sector 10 gate has suffered a catastrophic failure. Immediate attention required. Repeat. Aha! Ha ha! That did it! Come on, Twilight. Time to burst this thing open, TikTok cheered. About time, Twilight grinned. Let's get this show on the road. Rarity, she called. Gonna need a little help over here. Rarity turned. Coming! Let me just put this down first. She dropped her magic and let another of the struggling mechanical ponies fall several feet into a heap, where it was quickly set upon by a very furious Pinkie Pie. The Pink Party pony gleefully jabbed her joy buzzer into the back of the machine's head, and held it there until the thing started to smoke. She trotted over to Twilight, and both herself and TikTok got into position. Twilight's horn began to glow, and TikTok and Rarity each channeled their own magic into Twilight's. Rarity audibly gasped, so surprised at the amount of power she could feel flowing from the conjoined spells. She'd felt the power that conjoining with TikTok could accomplish, but now aiding Twilight in the mix, a pony with more magic flowing through her than she knew what to do with. Rarity was overwhelmed. Twilight fired a bolt directly at the gate, which struck it in the centre and began to envelop the entire thing in a bright lavender glow. Jetstream finally got a clear view of what the unicorns were doing. What in the... he balked. Stupid robots! Get the unicorns! Forget about the rest of... Flutter shifted his weight, and Jetstream stumbled. Didn't they teach you to avoid distractions in your combat training at all? You're battling you're battling 0 for 2 right now. He mocked. Jetstream spat and struggled back to his feet. The gate gave a loud groan and slowly began to split open in the middle. Twilight's face contorted. Hang on. Just getting spit off my iPod. Right. Twilight's face contorted in strenuous concentration. Beads of sweat became in streams, and even her assistants were beginning to feel the weight of the obstacle before them, strain their magic to its limit. The gate creaked and groaned as it was forced open inch by inch. Twilight's horn began to shoot off magical sparks haphazardly. TikToks and rarities began to do the same, and the 3 unicorns themselves now seemed to glow. When a few feet of space was left between the two halves, Twilight turned to the others. Rainbow Dash, Applejack, every pony, through the gate, now! Y'all heard Twilight. Time to mosey on out, Applejack called as she bucked one of the mechanical ponies out of the way. Come on, Rainbow, let's get a move on. Right behind you, AJ, Rainbow called, tackling one of the soldiers that had gotten up and started making a beeline for Flathoof. I'll cover your back. Get going! Pinky followed closely behind Applejack, who corralled Lockwood and Fluttershy with her. The pair had been keeping safe further away from the fighting. Applejack turned back a moment. Flathoof! Let's go, come on! Flathoof shifted his weight again and pinned Jetstream to the floor. Sorry, Commander, but I've got to get a move on. He slammed a hoof hard into Jetstream's muzzle and ran off towards the gate as well. Twilight struggled to keep the gate steady and turned to TikTok. TikTok, time for you and Rarity now. I'll keep the gate open so that you can get through. What, are you stupid? TikTok panted. We can barely keep this thing open as a team. What makes you... Just do it! I'll hold it long enough for you all to get out. Just go! But It's best not to argue when she's getting confident like that, Rarity huffed as she dropped her spell. Come along, Miss TikTok. We need to get going too. TikTok nodded quickly and followed close behind. The pair joined the others, except for Twilight and Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash, go! Twilight yelled. Just waiting for the others, Rainbow called back. Had to keep you covered. The lightning-quick Pegasus swept around in a loop and raced towards the gate, which Twilight was beginning to lose her grip on. With a heavy pant, Twilight's magic finally started to give in, and the gate began to wail as metal screeched against metal. She scooped Twilight up and flapped her wings as hard as she could. Rainbow! Twilight gasped as the magic faltered. I can't keep the gate open! We're gonna beat it, Twi! Don't worry! The gate started to close in on them as they entered it. No! Jetstream called from several dozen yards behind them, struggling to his feet and into the air. Hurry, Rainbow! Twilight pleaded. I've got this! We're not gonna make it! We'll make it! It's closing! We're gonna... The gate slammed closed, flinging about shrapnel and debris as the large metal doors struck one another in a way they were never meant to. Rainbow Dash crashed hard to the metal floor on the other side. Twilight tightly held in her hooves. Jetstream slammed hard into the gate with a crunch. He quickly worked to his feet again and slammed a hoof in the door. And slammed a hoof on it. Damn it! Damn it! Realising the Sector 9 section was beginning to close in on him, he hustled over to the maintenance panel and popped open a smaller panel inside it, entering a code into the numerical pad there. Sector 9 section stopped moving in and began to move back out. But Sector 10 was heavily damaged. Even with an override, he was locked in. He began to shake almost immediately. I'm in so much trouble. Alright, well that was Chapter 8. Things are getting interesting. They finally got out the city, or at least we can assume so. But yes, hopefully you'll join me for Chapter 9. Keep on spreading the magic of friendship, and I'll see you next time.